War has always been defined by innovation, by machines that rewrote the rules of power, survival, and destruction. From the thunder of tanks rolling across Europe to the silent eyes of drones scanning the modern battlefield, technology has shaped not only how wars are fought, but who wins them. But what if the greatest weapons of history weren't just built of steel and gunpowder, but of secrets, fear, and vision? In this episode, we'll uncover the hidden stories behind the machines that changed everything, the ones that shifted the balance of power and redefined what it meant to fight. So before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here, every video takes you inside the moments that made history. Now, let's reveal the truth behind the machines that changed war forever. The birth of mechanical power, the first revolution in modern warfare began with the roar of jet engines, or the precision of guided missiles. It began deep in the mud, smoke, and chaos of the First World War. A conflict so brutal that it forced humanity to reinvent the very way it fought. By 1916, courage was no longer enough. Millions of soldiers had already perished trying to cross landscapes torn apart by machine guns, artillery shells, and endless coils of barbed wire. The bravery of men met the cold efficiency of industrial killing. The battlefield had turned into a slaughterhouse, and something had to change. That change came in the shape of a strange iron beast, the Mark I tank. It was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Part machine, part monster. When it first rolled across the muddy fields of the Somme, its tracks grinding and its heavy metal hull groaning, soldiers on both sides stopped firing. For a moment they stared in disbelief as the impossible became real. The earth itself was moving toward them. To the British soldiers who operated it, the tank was hope made of steel. To the Germans who faced it, it was terror made real. But beneath the armor and the noise, the truth was far less glorious. The early tanks were slow, unbearably hot inside, and mechanically unreliable. Engines overheated, gears jammed, and exhaust fumes choked the men trapped within. Many tanks broke down before even reaching the front lines. Some were destroyed by their own mechanical failures rather than enemy fire. Still, despite their flaws, the Mark I represented something revolutionary, the birth of mechanical warfare. For the first time, man had created a machine designed not to assist the soldier, but to replace him in the most dangerous part of the battlefield. The secret behind this invention wasn't the brute force, it was imagination. It was the realization that war could be fought not by strength of arm, but by strength of mind, by engineering, by innovation, by the relentless human drive to survive and dominate. Behind the scenes, engineers and inventors worked under immense pressure. They borrowed ideas from farm tractors, naval engines, and industrial machines, fusing them into something that could crawl over trenches and crush obstacles. Their designs looked crude, but their vision was decades ahead of its time. When the Mark I finally entered battle, it changed everything. Even though it didn't win the war, it transformed how wars would be fought forever. Generals who once believed in mass infantry charges began to imagine armies of machines, armored divisions moving faster than any soldier could run, protected by steel, guided by technology. That Singo idea, that machines could fight where men could not, lit a spark that still burns today. From the Mark I came the lineage of every tank, armored vehicle, and mechanized unit that followed. It was the dawn of a new age, the age of mechanical power. And as the smoke of World War I faded, nations realized something terrifying. If machines could save lives, they could also take them more efficiently than ever before. The race to build better, faster, and deadlier machines had begun, and humanity would never look back. The rise of the air machine by the time the world was plunged into war once again in 1939. A new battlefield had emerged, not in the mud or the trenches, but in the open skies above. What had begun in the First World War as fragile wooden biplanes, scouting enemy lines, had now evolved into powerful steel giants capable of changing the course of nations. The air had become the ultimate high ground. Every major power understood that whoever controlled the skies would control the war itself. Aircraft were no longer mere observers. They were weapons of precision, strategy, and fear. And among them, one machine came to symbolize the very essence of this new form of warfare, the B-17 Flying Fortress. The B-17 wasn't just a bomber. It was a statement. It was the embodiment of American industry, innovation, and determination. Forged in factories that never slept, assembled by the hands of thousands of workers, men and women united by one purpose. It became a mechanical representation of a nation's will to fight. When formations of B-17s filled the skies over Europe, their engines thundered like a chorus of power. To those on the ground, the sight was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Waves of silver aircraft stretching across the horizon, their bomb bays loaded with destruction. Yet the true secret of these machines was not just the firepower they carried. Their real strength lay in what they represented. Each bomber was a message to allies, to enemies, and to the people back home. To allies, it was a symbol of protection. To enemies, it was a shadow of inevitable defeat. To the citizens watching from factory towns, it was proof that their hard work mattered, that every rivet tightened and every engine assembled brought victory one step closer. The B-17 Flying Fortress became the physical form of morale. It carried not just bombs, but belief. Inside the aircraft, the crew lived between courage and chaos. Flak explosions filled the sky, enemy fighters struck from above, and freezing air bit through the fuselage. Yet these young men, barely out of high school, guided their machine through death and fire, trusting the fortress of metal around them. And every mission told a story of friendship, sacrifice, and the delicate balance between man and machine. Because as advanced as these planes were, they still needed the steady hand of a pilot, the calculation of a navigator, and the courage of every man aboard. The line between life and death was drawn by teamwork and technology, fused together in the roaring engines of war. But beyond the battles and the bombs, these aircraft represented something even more profound. The dream of human flight turned into dominance. What once inspired poets and inventors had become the deadliest form of power on Earth. Humanity had conquered the sky, and in doing so, had brought destruction from above unlike anything seen before. Still, the symbolism endured. The B-17 wasn't remembered only for the cities it destroyed, but for the freedom it helped secure. It proved that war was no longer just about ground and sea. It was about altitude, speed, and vision. The rise of the air machine changed everything. From that moment on, the outcome of wars would be decided not only by soldiers in trenches, but by the pilots, engineers, and dreamers who dared to look upward. The sky had become a battlefield, and humanity would never fight the same way again. The hidden intelligence behind the machines, the deadliest weapons in history, weren't always made of steel, gunpowder, or armor. Some were built from silence, from the hidden minds working behind closed doors, fighting an invisible war of logic, mathematics, and secrecy. Because while tanks rumbled across Europe and bombers thundered above, another battle was being fought in the shadows, a war of information. It was a war where pencils, typewriters, and primitive circuits were the weapons, and where the victors would never stand on a battlefield. During World War II, the Allied powers realized that understanding the enemy's mind was as important as defeating his army. So, in secret facilities like Bletchley Park in England and hidden labs across the United States, teams of codebreakers, mathematicians, and engineers worked tirelessly to crack Their greatest challenge was a German invention called the Enigma machine, a device that could scramble messages into millions of possible combinations. Every day, the German military used Enigma to send orders that could change the course of the war. Every day. Those orders were intercepted and sent to rooms filled with quiet heroes who would spend endless hours trying to decipher them. Men and women like Alan Turing and his colleagues created machines capable of thinking in ways no human could. The first computers built not for convenience, but for survival. Their invention, the bomb, along with America's Colossus, became the first digital warriors machines designed to outthink the enemy. They didn't fire bullets, but they saved millions of lives. By decoding German communications, the Allies could anticipate attacks, redirect convoys, and outmaneuver U-boats across the Atlantic. Entire operations from the D-Day invasion to the defense of London were influenced by these secret calculations, yet almost no one outside those walls knew what was happening. The people who changed the course of history through logic and mathematics did so without recognition or glory. For decades after the war, their contributions remained classified, their names forgotten while others received the medals. But the true power of their work wasn't in the war they helped win. It was in the revolution. They started. Those early code-breaking machines were the ancestors of today as computers, the foundations of every modern intelligence system, satellite, and cyber weapon. What began as a race to read the enemy's messages became the birth of a new kind of warfare, digital warfare. Today, missiles, drones, and surveillance systems all rely on the same principles born in those dimly lit rooms at Bletchley Park. War has become a contest not of armies, but of algorithms. And here lies the deeper truth, the secret behind all machines. Technology has always been a reflection of human intelligence. Every great weapon ever built began not from hatred or greed, but from curiosity, from the desire to understand and to control. It's that same curiosity that drives us forward even now into the age of artificial intelligence. Quantum computing and cyber dominance. The modern battlefield may look different, but the essence of war remains the same. The struggle for knowledge, for advantage, for power. The silent war of the mind continues, invisible, relentless, and more powerful than ever. And just like the machines that came before, its greatest weapon is still intelligence. The machines of the future modern war no longer roars, it whispers. Gone are the days when victory depended on the loudest gun or the strongest tank. Today, war is silent, calculated, and invisible, fought in the clouds above us and the code beneath our screens. In the 21st century, machines have become more than tools of destruction. They are extensions of human thought. Drones strike targets half a world away, guided by operators who never see the battlefield. Satellites hover silently in orbit, watching entire nations, mapping every movement, every heartbeat of global conflict. And deep underground or inside undisclosed data centers, autonomous systems analyze patterns, predict attacks, and make split-second decisions, often faster than any human could ever react. It's no longer just about firepower, it's about information. Who controls the data, controls the war. Who commands the algorithm, commands the future. But there is a question that lingers like a shadow over every innovation. Have we gone too far? When machines can kill faster than humans can think, when AI can decide who lives and who dies in fractions of a second, where does control truly lie? Are we masters of the machine, or have we become its servants? These questions define the new era of warfare. Autonomous drones now coordinate in swarms, communicating with each other using artificial intelligence. Cyber weapons can disable entire nations without firing a single shot. In virtual battlefields, magia of data code and misinformation can topple governments before a soldier ever marches. For the first time in history, humanity faces a paradox. We've created machines that can protect us, but also machines that can destroy us faster than we can understand. It's an arms race, not of steel, but of intelligence. Nations pour billions into AI-driven systems, hoping to stay ahead by milliseconds, because in modern warfare, a millisecond can decide victory or annihilation. Quantum computing, neural networks, and predictive algorithms have replaced blueprints and bullets as the new weapons of dominance. But despite all this evolution, the truth remains the same as it was in every war before. The real power has never been in the weapon itself. It's in the mind that created it. Behind every machine, whether a tank in the mud of World War I, a bomber over Europe, a code-breaking computer, or a modern drone, lies the same story. The human desire to survive, to understand, and to control chaos. Technology is simply the reflection of that desire, amplified through innovation. So the question isn't whether machines will replace us, it's whether we'll remember the responsibility that comes with creating them. Because every line of code, every circuit, every command we build carries a piece of our humanity, for better or worse. The story of war has always been the story of ourselves. It's about how far we're willing to go to defend what we believe, and how easily we risk losing our soul in the process. If you've followed this journey through the machines that changed history, from the roaring tanks of the past to the silent algorithms of the future, then you already know. The next chapter I sent to you, written in metal or fire. It's written in data, in code, in thought, and when the next war comes, it might not be fought on the ground at all. If this exploration of power, technology, and humanity moved you, Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment below, and share your thoughts. Which machine do you believe truly changed the face of war? The human engine behind every machine. Every machine that changed war began with one thing, a human idea. Behind every weapon, every invention, every breakthrough in technology, there was a mind burning with the need to solve a problem, to win, to survive, to dominate. From the mud-soaked trenches of World War I to the data-driven wars of the present, the pattern has never changed. When men faced impossible odds, they built tanks to crush the barbed wire. They built bombers to reach the unreachable. They built computers to outthink the enemy. And today, they build algorithms, invisible warriors that fight with numbers instead of bullets. But here's a truth that history whispers. Machines do not create war. Humans do. The tank, the plane, the computer, the drone, they are mirrors, reflecting both our brilliance and our brutality. The same hand that crafts a weapon can also craft a cure. The same mind that designs destruction is capable of creating peace. The Mark I tank was not just steel and gears. It was the embodiment of fear turned into invention. The B-17 Flying Fortress was not just a bomber. It was the dream of engineers who wanted to turn the impossible into routine. The Colossus computer wasn't merely circuits. It was the birth of intelligence itself, the foundation of every smart system we use today. And now, autonomous machines patrol the skies, following human commands, written in code, echoing the same old question: what have we created? And what does it make of us? Every generation believes it has built the ultimate weapon, the tool that will end all wars. But every generation forgets the same lesson. No machine can change the heart of man. Weapons may evolve, but human nature stays the same, driven by fear, pride, and the desire for control. And so, the cycle continues. Machines get faster, smarter, deadlier. Wars get quieter, shorter, more invisible. And yet, the pain, the loss, and the human costs remain eternal. Because at the core of every war, behind every explosion, every innovation, every victory, there's always a human story. A story of ambition, of fear, of ingenuity, and of survival. We've conquered the land, the sky, the sea, and now the code. But perhaps the final battlefield lies not outside us, but within us. If you believe history has something to teach us, if you believe the future depends on what we remember, then don't just watch. Subscribe and join us as we uncover the untold truths behind every machine that changed the world. The eternal war within every war in history ends the same way, with silence. But long after the guns stop firing, the real battle continues. The one inside the human mind. Because war isn't just fought on battlefields. It's fought in ideas, in laboratories, in code, and in conscience. When we look back at a century of machines, from the roaring tanks of World War I to the whispering drones of today, what we really see is the evolution of humanity, its own reflection. We've always believed technology could save us, make us stronger, make us safe. But every time we invent a new weapon, we also invent a new fear. In World War II, the bomber promised victory from above, but it also brought terror from the sky. The nuclear age promised peace through power, but delivered the shadow of annihilation. Now, artificial intelligence promises precision and control, but whispers a new question. What happens when the machine no longer needs us to decide? War has always been about control. Control of land, of people, of destiny. But now, the true control lies in information. The next great conflict won't be about who has the most tanks or missiles. It'll be about who owns the data, who commands the AI, who manipulates the truth. That's the battlefield of tomorrow. Invisible, psychological, digital, and perhaps the scariest part is that we've already entered it. Yet, even in this dark evolution, because the same intelligence that builds weapons can also build understanding. The same code that powers drones can power peacekeeping systems. The same satellites that guide missiles can also guide humanitarian aid. The machines have changed, but the mission doesn't have to. It's up to us to decide what these creations will mean for the future. Maybe the ultimate victory isn't about destroying enemies. Maybe it's about learning from them. So, As we stand at the edge of a new era of AI, of cyber warfare, of machines that think, remember this, the story of war is, and always has been, the story of us. If you've come this far in our journey through history's most powerful creations, tanks, planes, computers, drones, then join us. Subscribe, share, and comment below. Do you think technology will ever end war, or only make it evolve? Because next time, we'll continue the search for answers deep inside the history that made us who we are.